Okay, we're recording. Welcome to WhizGirls Academy Super Secret Agent Trainees. Today we have a special treat. We have Winnie Sabbat. She is an amazing VC and she started a fund and she's going to tell us all about it. So thank you, Winnie, for joining us today.
Of course. Happy to be here and really excited to share more about myself.
All right, so tell us about your childhood.
Sure. So I spent the first 12 years of my life living in Haiti, which is an island in the Caribbean. And while I was in Haiti, like it's a Caribbean island, so there's always a lot of rain. So my favorite thing to do is dance in the rain and in the summer, because Haiti is an island in the Caribbean. So there's the weather is really nice. So whenever we got rain, me and my sister would always put our bathing suit on and go in our yard and just dance in the rain. Another thing that we did was also fly kites. Um, April, which is around Easter time, it is where like spring, there's always wind. So we would go and buy paper mache, where we would just different colors and different designs where we actually make our own kites and go on the roof of our house and fly them. And that's something that I carry and cherish till this day. And because as I mentioned, I grew up in an island, so would swim in the beaches that were clear, had crystal clear waters. We ate fresh caught seafood. I had a really great childhood. So even though like Haiti, has a lot of political issues there, it was filled with political warfare. Um, it was still a really great childhood. I moved to the US, specifically in New York, when I was 12 and started middle school here, where I learned English. I have not left New York since I've been here. It's been a long time. It's been over 20 years since I've moved here. I love it. I went to undergrad at Fordham University, went to business school here as well.
That's awesome. All right, so tell us about the transition when you were 12 and also like any passions or hobbies you had as a child in Haiti or when you got to New York.
Yeah. So the big, as you can imagine, transitioning at 12 to a new country where I lived in an island, I swam, flew kites on the roof to New York, where I moved in May of 1998, and it was one of the hottest summers New York had ever seen. So concrete jungle, really, really hot summer, not really going to the beach, completely different. I remember when I came here, I thought I had never seen squirrels before. So I thought like there were rats running around and it was unsanitary. and and also not speaking the language was really, really tough for me. So going to school and not being able to communicate, not being able to make friends, that was really hard. I was put in a class, ESL class, which is English as a second language, where I made my first friend in America. She was from Honduras, so she only spoke Spanish, and I only spoke French and English. And Creole. So we were learning English together, and she also taught me how to speak Spanish. So I learned Spanish at the same time I learned English. Granted, now 20 plus years later, I don't speak it as well as I speak English, but my understanding of Spanish is still pretty great. And now I'm starting to relearn it so I can be a lot more confident in speaking Spanish, which I'm hoping to turn into my fourth language.
Wow.
Um, as it relates to like a hobby or passion that I had when I was younger, I wanted to be a writer. When I was 9, there was a big hoopla about a 12-year-old writer who became the youngest published writer in Haiti, and me being the person I always was, I decided I was going to beat her, because if she can be 12 and become a published writer, why couldn't I be the youngest one at 9? So that's when I started to write really like poems and short stories. I did not meet the dream when I was 9, but when I moved here to the States, while also learning to speak English, I would continue to write in French and English as a way to practice my language skills. It took an additional almost 20 years to actually accomplish that dream. So I ended up writing my first book, and self-publishing it afterwards. But it took 20 years to get there. So
Wow.
that was a way for me to feed my passion and hobby. Because I've always had a vivid imagination and I always preferred books and hanging out the library than being around people.
Yeah. Wow. So tell us about this book. What was it called and what was it about?
So the book is called Petit-a-Petit. It means little by little. It's something that my mom will always say to me. It's like Petit-a-Petit, l'oiseau fait son nid, which means, translate to from French to English, little by little, a bird builds its nest. And it's my life's model where I try to remember patience and to understand that it takes little by little to like steps and to achieve a overall dream, and it can take you a little bit of time. And the book is a memoir about the first 30 years of my life and all the things that I've done. Each chapter begins, I'm in a different country and I'm reflecting what I've learned, where I am in life in that point of time, and what I'm learning about the different cultures within that country and what I've taken away from the people within that country.
Wow, that's amazing. And when did you publish this book?
In 2018.
Okay, so kind of recently. That's awesome.
Yes.
And you self-published it?
Yes.
Very cool. And do you still have links if any of our secret agents would like to get one, or like?
I do. You can buy it either on Kindle or physical book on Amazon. So I'll share the link.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll have that in the show notes for the future people as well that are listening to this as well. All right. So tell us about if you had a dream job and like what happened next.
So my dream job was always, whenever I thought about it, is allow me to feed into my curiosity. I've always, books allows you to just like read words on the page, but really imagine what it like the scene would look like and what the author's trying to convey, but in your own head. So I've always been I've always had a vivid imagination, which feeds my curiosity. So a job that allows me to be curious, creative, and innovative, which is why being a VC is such the perfect job for me, because it allows me to be creative in the way that I think, and also evaluating every single company that I'm working with, every single founder differently, because people are people, and every business is different, every founder is different, and providing them support in the way that I do is what I'm really, really good at. And ironically, when I was younger, I preferred books to people, and I'm in the role that significantly focuses mainly on people. So I've done a full 180 as it relates to how I interact with other people and how much, and that's been game changing for me.
That's fascinating. And we're going to get to that in a minute, but I want to kind of continue on this journey. I guess I call it being on your yellow brick road. So when did you hear about the word STEM? Did you hear about it when you were in New York? Did you hear about it recently? And did you have any mentors along the way?
So I heard about STEM when I was in the States. It's not something that we specifically focus in Haiti. But when I moved here, I was placed in advanced math, in an advanced math class, even though I was in English as a second language class. From the math side, I was really strong. I tested really strongly. So I was in advanced math in 7th grade. And in 8th grade, actually was taking high school level math classes. And I was doing so well in math that the teacher would actually put me next to her whenever it would be test time, so no one could copy, because every time there was a test, I would always ace it no matter what. So that's when I had a teacher in 8th grade. His name was Mr. Sabatino. He encouraged me to really go down that path towards STEM, because he felt like that was a way for me to leverage my math skills. And he always said that the world is your oyster and you'll be able to do a lot of things with it. And I went on to take on college level math classes. I took calculus in in high school, and then I went on to Fordham to major in finance.
That's right. Okay, so we're talking about your journey in college and university now. So you went to Fordham and got a bachelor's degree, and then you went and got an MBA as well from Fordham, right?
Correct.
All right,
Correct.
so tell us about that.
So majoring in finance was something that was really big because I'm thinking about, okay, do I want to major in math? What are some things I actually want to be doing on top of knowing how to count, numbers, and really being thoughtful around like strategy and thinking things through and being able to write. So they're feeding all those things together and evaluating deals. I went into finance thinking at Fordham wanting to be an investment banker, because investment banking requires you to, again, do a lot of analysis, a lot of reviewing numbers and looking at spreadsheets, but also understanding what those numbers mean and be able to convey them in a way that's easily digestible for senior management. So that's why I decided to go into investment banking. Unfortunately, I graduated in 2008, which was at the height of Great Recession. So I didn't get to go to work for Goldman Sachs like I really wanted, because that was like not a possibility. So I ended up actually working at a media company as a junior accountant. And back then I was one of the lucky ones to actually be able to get a job. So what I did there, I slowly maneuvered my way through different roles in the last 15 years to get to where I am. Around 5 years ago, I made the decision I want to go back to grad school and really focus on getting an MBA. And the main thing was around like, I really want to go into venture capitalism, because before then, I focused more on working at a company that were publicly traded, so much bigger company, much larger. And I wanted to be able to leverage all my skills and have a tangible impact in smaller companies, which is what venture capitalism is. You invest as an investor in companies that are much smaller and early stage, where you help shape shape in terms of the direction the company heads towards. So my business school essay actually was me saying I'm going to be a venture capitalist when I graduated from business school. In my mind, I would always go and work at another fund. But like a different level of circumstances actually led me to actually starting my own fund, which is a lot more ambitious. And this is where I'm at now.
Okay, so this is really interesting because I think our secret agents didn't exactly know what venture capital was. So I'm glad that you explained that. But I'm curious, like, what age were you when you first heard about venture capital? And was it in college or was it when you were younger?
It was when I was in college, because back then it was more so like the business exposure that I had were people who were like sole entrepreneurs, or they didn't get access to capital. Venture capitalism, even now, it's very white and very male dominated. So even now, there's not that many people who look like me who are the venture capitalists. And what I'm hoping to do by being one of the few Black women who are venture capitalists, but also investing in women and BIPOC led companies, to really lowering the barrier of entry for people who look like all of us on this call.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's fascinating, and I think our secret agents will really get a lot out of it. All right, so let's see. Let's go down memory lane for a minute. So you were at Merrill Lynch, and then TD, and then Gannett, and then I think there was Taxi, and then I saw something about, is it Gershon? And then there was like a couple other things, and then there was the Courier newsroom, which were you were the SVP of finance. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and then you shifted from all of those to, I guess that's Republic, which was the venture partner, and then now it's Sabbat. How do you say it?
Sabasika. So yes, throughout my career, all those things that you mentioned, I started working at a Merrill Lynch as an intern, which was an experience and a half. I gone through all these different companies where I was working at larger private equity backed and publicly traded companies, shifted, which was like basically large companies that had at least 1,000 employees and more, to really shifting into companies that were under 100 people, including Courier, where I was the CFO and really in charge. CFO stands as Chief Financial Officer, so really overseeing finance and operations and business strategy. We're back. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. I think the internet's playing tricks, but we're okay. We can edit stuff.
Okay, great.
Right. So you were telling us about being the senior vice president of finance and the CFO, but I also had a question about like internships and when did you hear about internships? Because I think our secret agents will probably be going down the path of internships in the near future.
Yeah. So I first heard about internships when I was in undergrad at Fordham, where part of it was encouraged, especially as part of the business school, if you were majoring in a STEM field, it was encouraged for you to find an internship. So Merrill Lynch at the time was a very big firm. After 2008, a lot of things happened. It no longer exists. But it was one of the biggest investment firm in the country and also in New York. So I was able to get a semester worth of internship in exchange for college credits.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect because I think, like I said, our secret agents are going down the path of like graduating from middle school, then high school, and then college, and getting internships and looking at potentially getting internships while they're in high school. I had a couple of jobs in high school, so I think it's possible, and I'm happy that you're sharing all these things. Okay, so now that you have your own fund, tell us about that and tell us how you started and what's going on with that.
Yeah. So my fund's name is Sabbat Capital. It's a combination of two words, Sabbat, which is my original last name, and my grandmother was from Syria, so Arabic is the language that is spoken, and one of the translation of Saba is queen, and Sika is shortened from the word Kasika, which was used by the Taino indigenous people of Latin America to describe the chiefs, and it means keeper of the people, and it's a representation of who we are and what we represent, which is like we're here because it's me and two other women to provide access to capital for people who look like us, and to also increase transgenerational wealth by not only allowing women who are in this generation to be wealthy, but to have enough wealth to actually distribute it to the future generations, because that to us is really, really important. So Sabasika got started because a lot of my friends would come to me for investment advice and finance advice and business advice. And as you mentioned already around Republic, when I joined as a venture partner at Republic, everybody assumed that also meant that I was starting my venture capital firm. And I had to keep reminding people, no, I'm just a venture partner at a separate firm. But they were like, but you're going to be starting your own soon. So it might as well, we're talking about it early. I heard that from a number of people where I was like, okay, so maybe it's the universe's way of telling me like I should be considering that and taking that seriously. So I sent an email to a group of friends of mine, 45 women, and I said, I'm interested in starting a fund, and I would like to see if I can raise the first $1 million from you guys from small checks. In venture capital, like usually you get people commit six figures, so at least $100,000 to you. But I wanted to offer my friends a $25,000 ticket size. And I was like, here's the plan. Here's what I'm hoping to do. And you guys coming in as an investor, I would also like to leverage your subject matter expertise to really help me when evaluating these companies. I thought it was going to take at least 6 months. Within a week and a half, I had my first $1 million in self-commitments. And that's when I was like, oh, this is really a thing. It can actually happen. And that was before I even had a name. People were just like, we know you, we know what your value add is. So we're going to put in the work. And that's as a response to that email, my co-founders actually was like, I don't just want to commit capital to the firm. I actually want to run this with you. And that's how we got started.
That's amazing. I got chills. So all of this happened within a week and a half.
Yes. And that was really scary for me because I didn't think it was going to happen that fast. And I didn't have a name. I didn't have a business plan already fully fleshed out. I thought I had more time. So I took the next 6 to 9 months to really flesh it out and analyzing and have a name and have a brand. And in 2022, started fundraising for the fund. So right now in the process of fundraising, And what that means is just going and meeting with people who have a lot of money, whether it's a bank, it's like different financial institutions, or even individual people who are looking to invest in firms such as mine, and having conversations with them. Like, doing that is a long process because you have to build relationships. Some of these people are committing millions of dollars, so it takes a bit of time to get there. So that's what I've been doing for the last year. We're having a really great conversations with some really big name investors. I can't really share that yet until a final, but we're getting to a point where we're hoping to close before the end of the year. And what that means is, like, I'm raising I'm raising a large amount of fund for somebody as a Black woman. So then you have to break it down into 3 or 4 tranches, right? The first tranche is called the first close, the second close, the third close, and the final close. So we're hoping to do the first close before the year is over. And then for the subsequent quarters in 2024, then we can bring in more capital. The first close is always the hardest, and the first major commitment is even the hardest. And right now the market is really tough because there's talks of the recession, unemployment, and all that stuff. And something that it's really important for all of you guys to keep in mind, like going to STEM is another way to really solidify your position and really help protect yourself against whenever there's a downturn in the market. So that's where we're at. Really, really excited.
That sounds really exciting. I got chills again. I'm so happy for you. That's amazing. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned STEM because math is a big part of what you did as a child. Like, you were a math whiz, and then going down the motions and finance, like majoring in finance, and all the things that you've done so far have basically been your path. And I think the universe kind of winked at you when you did you said essay about being a venture capitalist, and like you kind of set the motions for the universe to bring all these things to you, even though it took a little bit of time, but that's the path, right? That's your journey on your yellow brick road.
Yes.
And I think it's fascinating because everyone has a different journey, but you're still very much a big STEM person, and like math is hugely STEM. So I think
100%. And the other thing that's interesting too is we focus on backing companies who are in the medtech space and fintech space, and both of them are within STEM. Fintech means financial technology, and medtech is medical technology, which ties into science. So we're meeting a lot of people who are really passionate within science and healthcare, and providing us, like, in starting their own companies. And the 35 women that I mentioned, that not only are investors in the fund, but are also committing their subject matter expertise. 9 of them are in healthcare. 6 of them are doctors. 2 of them are nurses, and 1 of them is has a PhD in women health. So all these women are women of color who also have their PhDs, their MDs, and the Masters of Science. So again, a lot of these women are in STEM. There's a few finance whiz, accounting. We have a couple of engineers who also is part of STEM. So there's a lot. It's just another way of showing the impact of these women are having, their background, where they came from, and allowing to leverage their subject matter expertise and their money to allow them to have significant return. Basically, the goal is, when you invest in a firm like mine, is so that way for every single dollar that you put in my firm, my hope is that I can return $5. So when you think about these women in STEM, like an electrical engineer, typically you think like they go to work and do that, but having the additional opportunity to invest in a financial institute platform like mine, it will all allows them to have increased their wealth, which will contribute to generational wealth for themselves and their families.
That's so true. And that's huge. And I really applaud you for what you're doing. But I'm curious, like, how are you finding these women, or how are they finding you?
So these women are my friends. Some of them I've known since I was 12. One of them is actually one of my best friends, who I mentioned was an electrical engineer. I've known her since middle school, since I moved to the States. We took the same classes together. We took calculus together. She went on to become an electrical engineer, and I went on to become majoring in finance. One thing I would recommend all of you girls is to make sure to build really strong relationships with people, because having a strong network is incredibly important for your career. There's a lot of things that's happened in my career. It's because somebody opened a door for me that I could have never opened myself. And it's because of the relationships I've built over the years. So being able to raise $1 million in a week and a half doesn't happen to anyone, especially to a Black woman. And I was able to do that because a lot of these women I've known for decades. Some of them have known me since I was 12 again, or in college or in high school or after college. And I've been able to maintain relationships. So as you're evaluating the friendships that you're building, think about like, what is the value add that you're providing these people and what they can do for you. Because I know, like, when I was younger, my mom would always say, like, your friends, you have to be careful who your friends are. It really makes a difference because of I chose the right people and the right friends. That actually turned into money, like tangible money, in terms of $1 million. So that is something I want all of you girls to keep in mind.
That's so true. And that's really great advice. And on that note, like, I'm curious, like, what did you learn when you were 11 years old that you've kept with you today?
That I'm my biggest enemy. So my thoughts is my biggest obstacle. So your mind over matter. So the first experience I had about the only obstacle in life is me and my thoughts. When we're waiting for a visa to be accepted, so allow us to come to the US, we're waiting for 8 years and we kept focusing on it, like thinking like it wasn't going to happen. But eventually we gave up. And within months, if not weeks, we actually got the letter in the mail that we're approved, and we didn't have to go through all the hoops we had to go through before. And that's just a perfect example, is like, if you really trust in yourself and the universe's ability to actually deliver and you let it go, things will happen. And it's the same thing with the fund. We've been fundraising for a year and it's a really tough market. And I had a conversation with a particular investor. I met her a year ago, had a couple light touch conversation, and out of nowhere, she was like, I'm in. And it wasn't, and I didn't chase her. I didn't hound her. I thought she was great, but I was like, okay, she may not be the one, so I'm going to let it go and focus on the others. But she turned out to be the first major institution to actually be willing to commit to us, which is huge. And now she's working with me to actually find us additional investors in the fund, which is game changing.
That's a really good point. I think when we want something, it's really hard because most of us, especially as our young secret agents are, we're living in the Amazon age when everything has to come like this, and we want it fast. But like, there's a fine line of like, I want to do this and I want to manifest this, but I don't want to attach to it because I have to let the universe bring it to me at the right time. And I think you perfectly like showed us what that means in what you've done.
Yes, exactly.
That's huge. All right. So what advice would you give our aspiring secret agent trainees in the audience?
I would say another motto that I have is impossible is nothing. My favorite children's stories is Alice in Wonderland, which is a little bit quirky, which just explains my personality to a T. And my favorite line from the story is, I think of 6 impossible things before breakfast. And there's no such thing. The word impossible, when you break it down, says am possible. So everything that you decided you want to do, everything you think you are, is possible. Whether it's good or bad, it's possible. So really focus on your thoughts and how you view the world and what you think you can achieve. Because once you, like, for example, on paper, I shouldn't be able to have accomplished a lot of the things that I managed to do. I'm a child of a single parent mother who didn't finish high school, moved to the States, come from a very traditional and restrictive to women culture, to now focusing in finance, where women in my family just become nurses and doctors. So I went a completely route, which was when it comes to money and STEM, and really going through venture capital, where 0.006% of venture capital money goes to Black women. So one of the I think there's less than 200 of us in the entire country as Black women VCs, to be part of that and actually actively having conversations with major institutions be taken seriously. Hey, we're back. It's so weird. It just keeps.
I know. I said the New York internet's playing tricks on us. There's no storm there anymore, right? Like,
no, it's just like, and it says I have a full bar, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, like, you really focus on doing well, and not only just doing well, but also dream for what you think is impossible. If you think it's impossible, write it down and aim towards that. Because every person who's managed to accomplish something amazing did something that no one else thought that they could do.
That's so true. And I think you're a perfect example of that. So thank you for being so raw and real and sharing your personal stuff as well as your professional stuff as well. All right. So I'm going to switch to some of the student questions now, and then we're going to do quick 60-second questions, and then we'll do key takeaways, and then I'll let you go. All right. So here's a question and a comment in one. Role models are real life superheroes. You are a real life superhero. Have you had someone who inspired you in your STEM journey?
Yes. So I have a few people. My friend, one of my best friends, her name is Shireen, and she's an electrical engineer. She's amazing. We balance each other out in terms of our personalities. We're both introverted, but she's a lot more introverted than I am. When I was applying to business school, she actually tutored me so I can study for the GMATs, and she's always been a really huge champion of mine. And she's there to see things that I don't see and really provide me insight from a business and STEM perspective. The other one is one of my mentors, Anupam Palit. He actually is the one who helped me get into business school. He's an Indian man. He's very pro women. He has 2 daughters. Both are in high school, and he was very focused on, like, I want you, one day I'm going to work for you. And one day I want you to be just as powerful and impactful as Indra Nooyi and Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. So that's what he would just push me towards doing. And I appreciate that so much so. And he kept his word. He's actually an advisor to my fund, where he's providing insight and helping me pick the right companies to invest into. And
I love that. That's so cool. And did you find him originally? Did you ask him to be a mentor, or did it kind of happen?
No, he volunteered himself. So he was a former boss of mine when I worked at Penton. And funny story, I first applied to a master's of quantitative analysis, very, very like STEM, a master's degree, and I didn't get in. And I was crying at my desk at work, and he came over and asked me what was wrong. And I told him, and he was like, that's okay. I'll teach you everything I know. And in 2 years, give me 2 years, I'll teach you everything I know. So by the time you will go for an MBA, and when you go there, you're only going for the degree because you would have already learned everything you needed to know. And that's exactly what he did. He has an MBA from Columbia. So every 2 weeks, he spent 2 hours with me to really help me analyze the market, understand what's going on, think things from a strategic perspective. And it's been game-changing in my career. He's still providing me support till this day. Like, I call and text him all the time, and he always makes a point to make time for me.
That is very, very cool. And I think that goes back to what we said earlier about how you're on your path and the universe is bringing people, and no accidents. The fact that you were upset at work and he came to see what was wrong, and then it all came together. It's like all the pieces of the puzzle are like magically coming together, and you're just kind of following your Alice in Wonderland experience.
Yes. That's a perfect way of describing it.
Very, very cool. Okay, next question. Can you explain what a fund strategy is?
So the fund strategy is basically what you're thinking, what the plan is for your fund. So your fund is a financial entity or company, and what it does is write checks, commit money to people who started their own companies in exchange for a percentage of their business. So our fund strategy is focused in backing women and people of color-led companies at the seed and Series A stage, which is much earlier. And our goal is to write checks. Average check size is about $1 million each. And we're planning on backing between 39 to 50 companies in the next 5 years.
Okay, awesome. And that's mostly, like you mentioned, women, BIPOC, all the things.
Correct.
Okay, very, very cool. All right, next question. How can our secret agents start being smart with their money now?
I think there's a lot of following blogs, and like Elvest is a really good one, which is on Instagram. I also like to watch the Financial Diet on YouTube, where they give you a lot of ideas on how to open a bank account, saving money, investing in the stock market. I'm not a financial advisor, so obviously you talk to experts, but really start investing in the stock market and mutual funds. So the companies I invest in, hopefully one day they'll be traded in the stock market, but I come in super, super early. Think like Uber, but like 10 years before it became a massive thing. So those are the companies I'm looking to invest into. So that's what I would recommend you do. Do a lot of reading. There's a lot of books that is really important that I think you should read. But yeah, like I'm a big YouTuber. I love YouTube. So the Financial Diet is a really good one because it's by women for women, and educating them on what they should be doing. And also Elvest is an investment platform that was started by women for women.
Very cool. Thank you. Okay. What superpowers do you find that you have that pushed you to where you are today?
I have a really good knack on connecting with people on an individual basis and seeing them for who they are and not just who they pretend to be. I think a big part of that is because, as I mentioned earlier, I used to be super introverted and I preferred books to people. So when you're really introverted, you also observe a lot and you read. And when you read a lot of books, you have to be able to interpret what's going on and see things in a way that people may not understand. And I always say that the world isn't built for introverts; it's built for more so extroverts. So as a semi introvert, I've been able to understand how I want to be seen. So, because of that, I make it a point to see people and how they want to be seen, not how I think they should be seen, but how they want to be seen. I think it's a really important superpower to have, just to be a good person. But also, it served me quite well to, again, 35 of my friends committed their hard earned cash to my company, not knowing what venture capitalism was. It's just because it was me, and it's because I've been able to build a relationship with them to make them feel comfortable and confident in doing so.
Very cool. Okay, thank you. All right, next question. Can you explain what investment or investing means?
So investment is basically the act. Investing means is the act of actually putting capital, whether it's resources, time, such as time and money, into something. And this, in my instance, is actually a business or an idea that someone have. So what we do, we have to go through like a contract and legal stuff, but right, draft a contract saying your business, for example, is valued at $1 million, or your idea is valued at $1 million. So for $200,000 or 20% of the business, I'll give you $200,000 plus you can have access to me to help you establish your business. I'm going to own 20% of your company. And the idea is, by investing my money or the money that I get from other investors into the company, I will able to help the person increase their idea and really get them to a really strong point where in 5 years, the business that I bought in, I own 20% of, at $1 million is now valued at $10 million or $100 million. So then instead of like I put in $200,000 into a company now that's worth $1 million, I'm just using whole numbers, and I own 20% of that, which is 20 million. So I was able to turn my $200,000 into 20 million in 5 years. So that's how venture capitalism is, and that's what investment is. So in terms of what you secrets agents could be thinking about investing, when you're investing in the stock market, you're actually investing in companies think based on their futures. Is the same thought process. So you're buying the future of the company, meaning that you're speculating that in the future the company will be much more valuable tomorrow than it is today. So by putting again $1 or whatever into it, you'll be able to make $1.50, $1.25, or even $2.
That's a great explanation. Thank you. Okay, so looking to the future is exciting. What do you imagine for girls in STEM down the road? And how can we make sure that everyone gets a chance to be part of the STEM adventure?
I think the sky is the limit. I think with thoughts around, like, before it was Web3 or blockchain, and now we're talking about AI, and um, the pandemic has highlighted the importance of having healthcare, access to healthcare, and technology and engineering, and there's math. There's so many things what it means to be STEM. I think the sky is the limit. I think it's a perfect time for girls and women to go into STEM, because you can have a bigger impact, not just in the technology that are impacting the way people live their lives, but also the way people interact with people who look like us.
So true. Okay, how can our special secret agent trainees follow your journey moving forward? Is it Instagram? Do you have a website? Is it LinkedIn? What do you recommend?
So I have Instagram, I have LinkedIn, and I have a website. The website is pretty bare bones right now, so I think Instagram might be the best play, or even LinkedIn. So my name on Instagram is Winnie_Sabbat, and LinkedIn is just my name. You can just add me there. We do have our website, sabasicacapital.com, but it's very bare bones for now, where our focus is more fundraising. And later on, we're planning on establishing newsletters, etc. But for now, I think the LinkedIn and Instagram is the best place to keep track of what I'm doing.
Okay, great. And another thing is, I think you're mentoring, right? So Global Women in VC is a place that you're mentoring, but are you mentoring others as well?
So Global Women in VC is an organization of other women who are venture capitalists, and we network. But I also mentor founders who are women and people of color, in partnership with an accelerator program, who actually finds these founders and really set them up for the really strong future. And then they connect them with people like me who can guide them throughout the fundraising process.
Very cool. Okay. So it would be probably best to get in touch with you directly for mentorship.
Correct.
If our secret agents are interested in potentially reaching out. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to switch now to the 60-second little fun thing, and then we'll do key takeaways. All right, so this is quick answer, so you don't really have to think about it. What was your favorite toy as a child?
Barbie.
That's right. My past always comes back to me.
Yes, Barbie.
Did you see the movie?
I didn't, because I've been so focused in fundraising. I haven't.
Okay, so we'll have to talk about it when you see it. Yes. All right. What was your favorite video game?
I didn't play video games when I was young. I focused on books. I was never my favorite book. So my favorite book when I was in Haiti was Martine. It's just like, it's a children's story series, was about a girl named Martine, and different different things that she's doing. And the other one is a Comtesse de Casse, which is a really like children's book, which is about Les Malheurs de Sophie, and it just talks about Sophie and all the stuff that she goes through. When I moved to the States, it was like horror movies, fantasy, whereas like Christopher Pike was my favorite author.
Okay. What about favorite superhero?
That's easy. I love Marvels. I'm a big Marvel fan, so I've seen every Marvel movie. So it's Storm, a part of the X-Men.
Storm, awesome. What about favorite like TV show as a child, or favorite animated series?
Favorite animated series when I was in Haiti, again, Asterix et Obelix. I don't know I think you guys have had it, but it wasn't as popular in the States as it was in French country. So it's about two people who from a small area in France, and they're fighting against the Romans. And so it's a very like historic, very like, we're the underdog. I'm back. So it was all about the underdogs and fighting against Julius Caesar and winning each time because there's a magic potion that they drank. So that had a huge impact on me when I was a kid. In Haiti, when I came to the States, I actually used cartoons to learn English. So Blue's Clues was one of my favorites. Smurfs was also another one where I could watch it and learn how to say different words.
That's interesting. The show in Haiti, did it have an English name, or like you mentioned something about it's in the States?
It's the same thing, Asterix and Obelix. So it's called like, The Adventures of Asterix.
Oh, okay. Got it. I feel like, I know, it reminds me of, I think the equivalent would be maybe Pippi Longstocking, The Adventures of Pippi Longstocking.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was hooked on that as a child too, so that's interesting. She was like very strong and empowered, and she always fought everything. I mean, she did good for the world and for her neighbors, Annika and her brother. So, yeah. Nice. Okay, how about favorite TV show now?
I don't get to watch a lot of TV. But the one I'm actually really into now is The Wheel of Time. It's an Amazon show where it's all about like women empowerment. The women are the ones who have superpowers, and the source is blessing women to actually fight against the bad guys. But when a man actually try to tap into the source, it corrupts him. So the women are the one who can truly tap into the source and protect the rest of the world. I love stuff like that. It's a fantasy, and Rosamund Pike is the lead in that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating show. I actually went to the FYC for the Emmys when it first came out. I want to say this is last year. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. I met the showrunner and everybody, the cast. It was really fascinating to hear. I think it's based on a book series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? I think that's it. Okay, so let's do key takeaways and then let us know if we missed anything. Okay, so remember to be patient. It takes little steps to achieve big goals. You are your biggest enemy. Don't give up on your dreams. Everyone starts from something that may seem impossible. Look for mentors. They can seriously help. Read and understand before investing, but start early. Use your resources to learn new things. The sky is the limit for you.
100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and your journey with us, Winnie. This was amazing. I know that our super secret agents will get so much out of this, and I'm sure they'll probably want to reach out to you to learn more and to be mentored by you. So thank you again for sharing everything. And that's it for WhizGirls Academy today, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow with a special secret agent mission. So tune in again. Bye.